All right, everyone, we've entered a new stage of rhetoric when it comes to the Korean Peninsula. We're used to for literally years now. Kim Jong-un and his dad and all of the other North Korean diplomats and brass have repeatedly threatened, usually multiple times a year, to nuke their enemies, to invade their enemies, to lay waste to their enemies, to rain down fire on their foes, and all of these other things. It's pretty standard. Like when they threaten, if so much as one bullet is fired into North Korea, there will be an atomic holocaust. Yeah, you've said that before, though, and the thing is, generally speaking, nobody's firing a bullet into North Korea, so it gives them a cop-out. But now we're hearing that the United States' new line is, oh, well, we may take preemptive military action if North Korea tests an atomic weapon here on a day of the sun. And they're probably going to test an atomic weapon on the day of the sun. What do you think could possibly happen here? Now, this is a little bit new because usually the United States doesn't step up the rhetoric. The U.S. will sit by, it'll sail some ships through, it'll, alert people along the DMZ, all the U.S. troops we've got in South Korea, maybe put up an anti-missile system or two, maybe consider blowing the missile out of the air when it's fired, something like that. But you don't hear the U.S. government saying, essentially, yeah, we might drop one of these mother-of-all bomb devices on Pyongyang if you continue. And by the way, come to think of it with such weapons, we could, in theory, decimate their military capabilities and their ability thus to attack South Korea with artillery and so forth by using these weapons without even needing to use nukes. Now, we could probably take out most of their abilities without even firing so much as a small atomic warhead at them, which is good to know, I suppose. Also, upon further consideration, you do have to kind of worry about their long-range missiles, not because they can put an atomic payload on them, but they can fit them with sarin or mustard gas or VX or something like that. Now, that'd be a sticky situation. If they start firing that across the border, millions of people will die in South Korea and Japan. Probably not here because I don't know if they can really accurately target us, but they certainly have that ability with their shorter-range missile systems. But it is new. We haven't heard the U.S. government say such things generally before. The U.S. government will chime in and say, we condemn their statements. They also, we're not perturbed. We're not going to do anything about it, but we condemn them anyway. Or, Kim Jong-un is illegitimate. He's a tin-horn tyrant, essentially. That's what they limit themselves to. To hear that the idea of a preemptive strike is possible isn't itself new so much from a strategy standpoint, though. We've had consideration of this now for decades. But to have it openly stated and quite proudly, yeah, we're kind of considering this if they conduct a test. It's a discrete sort of individual action North Korea can take that would perturb us enough to openly consider that. The likelihood is they are going to conduct such a test, though. And that's what's different. Also different, and this has been the case for a couple of years, but now it's coming to a head, is China's no longer defending them. China's no longer an ally of North Korea. They no longer apparently see them as an important buffer state. I don't think the Chinese care if Korea is reunited. I don't think they care. In fact, it might temporarily suppress the growth of one of their main competitors, which is South Korea. Now, on a tech scale especially, because they'd have to pump so much investment into North Korea to actually bring it up to somewhat modern standards. Every road would have to be rebuilt more or less outside of Pyongyang. They'd need roads, they'd need electricity, they'd certainly need modern equipment for farming and so forth. They need a huge amount of food aid in the meantime. It would be crazy. It would be surreal. If that happens, if there is unification of the Korean Peninsula, it is extremely likely that I'm going to go take a visit to what used to be the Juche, North Korea, including if they unite under a mixed model. Yeah, I'll probably go visit it just to get that last breath of a culture that's in total upheaval. It'd be so exciting. You'd probably be able to feel the electricity in the air from all the stuff that would be going on. Projects everywhere, roads being rebuilt, people, you see 10 people on one side of the road are harvesting cabbages by hand. On the other side of the road, there's an automated tractor pulling up carrots or something like that. It'd be insane. It'd be like La La Land or something. You'd have the mix of the very 50s looking Soviet style, North Korean propaganda And it would be right next to like totally modern stuff that you'd see, you know, in McDonald's, you'd see in any fucking Western nation. And by the way, I think we should probably try to preserve their admittedly beautiful culture, not let it get raped by McDonald's and Walmart and shit like that. Unfortunately, it's likely to happen. Although at least they wouldn't be starving, then they'd start getting obese probably. It takes its own problems with it. As far as North Korea, though, goes, what odds would I give for any sort of military involvement this time around? Higher than in the past, but still not high. I'm not convinced that if they do conduct a test that we will actually conduct a strike. If we do, there's no guarantee that they'll even retaliate. They might not be taken in. They conduct their test. Maybe we strike their, you know, a couple of their centers of where they refine atomic material and drop some bombs on them, maybe hit a few missile platforms. Does that guarantee that it will escalate beyond them maybe firing a couple of shots back at the U.S. Navy? Of course, if they end up hitting one of the vessels and killing anyone, then it's, you know, probably a total war situation. We should not underestimate Kim Jong-un's madness or his military prowess. If they do decide to activate all of their reserves, you could get a Zerg rush to the DMZ, numbering in the millions, and that's assuming that a lot of people defect. Assuming that a lot of people are incapable of fighting or defect, you would still have a massive military response. It would be haphazard, it would be largely ineffective, but it would still be a bloodbath. And that would be coupled with all of that artillery. That would have to, and in any strike, you have to have enough assets to be able to more or less flatline all of that artillery near the DMZ very, very quickly, along with a lot of those tanks. Otherwise, the problem's worse. If it's just an infantry charge across the DMZ, like in one of their propaganda films, half those people are going to die stepping on a landmine before they touch South Korean soil. It would be terrible. It would be terribly unfortunate to see that many people die, probably number in the hundreds of thousands. But it wouldn't ultimately, like, destroy South Korea or anything. Maybe they should consider... I think they were considering moving the administrative center further south, actually away from the DMZ, probably for this reason. Maybe they realized that China and the U.S. were both roughly aligned with, at some point in the near future, North Korea is going to have to go. It's no longer going to be able to have... At the very least, we need to destroy their atomic weapons. If not potentially decimate their military entirely. So it's getting hairy on the peninsula there. But that doesn't guarantee war. And if you're claiming, World War III over Korea, not going to happen. The Chinese are not going to risk war with the United States to defend a pariah regime like Kim Jong-un's, especially if he ends up firing the first shot. If we just attack, if the U.S. attacks their atomic weapons program, destroys it, and they fire back, that program's not recognized as legitimate even by the Chinese. So it wouldn't be a defensive scenario in which technically their alliance, so-called with North Korea, even has any meaning. Because the systems that were attacked there specifically would never be worth the Chinese getting involved. They might indeed invade from the north to secure mineral resources. They may do so to prevent full reunification under the Republic of Korea. They may do that, but even the areas that they end up holding in such a scenario, it's just going to be like, a Chinese vassal. It's not going to be the same as under Kim Jong-un. It would still be better, even though it would still technically be communism. That's about all. Peace out.